Good evening, Togenites. Hope you're all well. Tonight's instalment of my fly tying videos is an absolutely stonking emerger pattern. It's got a CDC shuttlecock and it's got a lovely little pearly butt. So I've come up with the ingenious name of the Pearly Butt Emerger. Creative, I know. Well done me. I fish this on rivers, I fish this on still waters, and when the fish are taking flies off the surface, this works for me. As soon as I see them taking off the surface, this goes on and I have total confidence in it. And it's relatively straightforward to tie. What you will see in the vise is a Togens scud hook, size 12. I'm sure you can tell by now, there's black thread on that hook. And at the end, just sat in the materials clip, is some of this. Just use some pearl mylar. This is what I've got. I love it. The colour's amazing. Unfortunately, I'm running a bit low and I don't know where to get any more from, but any pearl mylar will do. What we're then going to use is some hand-stripped peacock quill. Again, you can choose the colour depending on the insects in your area, but that's just a natural. We are going to be using vicuna dubbing in dirty olive. But what I've done is I've actually mixed, I don't know if you can see the sparkle there, I've mixed some gold light bar through it to give it a little bit of glint. And when you brush that up into the wing, it really makes a difference. I've tried with and without brushing that up into the wing, and definitely brushing the dubbing light bright mix up makes a difference. I don't know why, but it does. Again, you can choose different colours of vicuna dubbing to suit what you want to tie, but for me that dirty olive with the gold light bright works. So let's get on with it. So lay down a nice smooth bed of thread. We're going to be using a quill body, so you have to make sure that thread bed is level, no lumps and bumps, just really, really nice. And on the way down, to reduce bulk, I tied in a strand of that pearl mylar that we're now going to create the butt with. Bit of a tip for you here: if you're tying on a curved hook and you've got a rotary vise, rotate the vise 90 degrees so that you're looking at the side of the hook is pointing up. Because what this allows you to do, instead of trying to dodge the thread and the what's going on my thread there? Instead of trying to dodge the thread and the hook point, you are at the same time you're dodging them one at a time. It just makes it a bit easier. So I've made a bit of a pig's ear of that, so we're going to take that a bit further down the way. There we go, that's a bit better. Now I can tilt it and I can create the butt. There is no hard and fast rule about the size of your butt. A couple of turns for me is alright, so 2 turns down, 2 turns back, and that's how I like my butts. And then just tie it off. Again, just try and do 2, 3, 4 turns, not too many, because we are tying in some peacock quill and we don't really want a bump if we can help it. So get rid of the excess, just tidy up a little bit. Now there's a little bit of a bump there, so I'm just going to go up the body. Nice, smooth, even touching turns. Also covers up any gaps I left first time round. And then I'm going back down the body as well. If you want to build a bit of a tapering, you can. I haven't found it really needs that. There we go. And we want to finish up not quite where the butt starts, and I'll explain why. We're using the thread and the quill to create a segmented body, and we want that first segment to be thread. Now peacock quill, notoriously brittle. I've been soaking this for a little bit just to try and get a little bit of suppleness into it, and it still feels a little bit brittle, so I imagine it's going to break on me because, let's face it, that's what happens on tying videos. But nonetheless, that first couple of wraps that you tie that in with, make sure they're nice and loose, and then tighten down. Take your thread all the way up to somewhere around the thorax and throw in a whip finish to save your work. If you've got a rotary function and you want to use that now, you can. I don't like using my rotary function on curved hooks, so I'm not going to. And then it's just a question of wrapping the peacock quill up the body nice and slowly. If my fingers get in the way, I apologise. And you want more or less touching turns. You want to leave the tiniest gap between the peacock quill and each wrap so that it accentuates the black line. Okay, and I'm a bit pedantic about my quill bodies, so I'm going to just keep tilting the vise back and forth without shredding the peacock on the hook point, because these Togen hooks are really sharp. Don't like that, so just go back a bit. There we go. Still don't like that. If you don't like it, do not carry on. You want to have confidence in the flies that you're tying and the flies that you're fishing, and therefore, if you don't like it, go back and do it again, even if it means stripping everything off the hook and starting again. What you don't see in many tying videos is people doing that, but I guarantee they do. So I'm just talk amongst yourselves whilst I'm doing this. And with the naturals, these segments get wider as they get closer to the thorax. So that's what I'm doing here. Just going to make those gaps a little bit bigger. And that way it mimics as best we can. Can't imagine the fish are going to tell me off for not having bigger gaps in my thorax, but it gives me one less excuse to use, doesn't it? And then effectively all we're doing is tying off your peacock. And again, it can be kind of slippery, even though I'm going to coat this in resin. Take a couple of wraps down the thorax and try and break it off. There we go. Right, that is the body and the butt done. So, I need a couple of quick turns on the whip finish, tie that off, snip the thread. Now that's not the fly finished. What we're going to be doing is coating it in a bit of Loon UV resin. I like Loon. You can use whatever you want, be it Loon, be it Gulf, be it varnish. 3 or 4 coats of varnish would work. Partly I'm using UV resin because it's quick. I also like the fact that UV resin kind of sits into the gaps, whereas varnish will soak into the thread. The UV resin doesn't so much and fills any gaps to make a nice smooth body, which helps the fly break through that surface film so that it sits below the surface, and the only thing above the surface is that shuttlecock. Make sure you coat the butt as well and get everything you need done. Make sure before you cure it, you put your lid back on your resin and then give it a blast. You don't need much UV resin, so you shouldn't need too long with your torch. The batteries on this torch are going a little bit, so that's the only reason it's getting longer than I would normally. There we go, job done. Right, thread back on. First of all, you can't do anything without tying thread. There we go, snip off your excess because you really don't need that. Next up, CDC. Now, I like to use 5 CDC feathers. I've got some pre-prepared here. To create the shuttlecock, you've got to line the tips up so that it looks neat and tidy, and it really depends on the quality of the feather that you've got. You can use 4, 3. You know, if you're tying these in size 16 and 18, maybe you only need 2 or 3. This is a size 12. I'm going to be using it on the still waters I'm fishing in a few weeks' time. So I use 5 to give me a nice visible shuttlecock. And each feather has a natural curve to it. I have the curves meeting like that all the way around, which gives me a nice looking shuttlecock, and it doesn't, you know, bits don't stick out too much. They always will because it's a natural feather, but not as much. And then it's a question of finding the length you want. I like my shuttlecocks to be about the length of the body. Again, roughly position it however you like. That'll do me. Nice and visible. Make sure the CDC does not slide around the hook. It has a habit of doing that, a jolly annoying habit of doing that. And when you've got it secure, snip it off at an angle. There we go. And then it's just a question of tying the rest of that down. I'm trying to hold that in place just a bit. There we go. Done. So that's all tied down. And come back up a bit. Try not to catch your thread on the point of your hook, because that's only going to end in tears. 3 wraps just under there for now. Right, dubbing and we're done really. So let's get this dirty olive and light bright mix done and out. And, I mean, Vicuna dubbing is really easy to dub anyway, and it retains that bugginess. But you'd have thought putting a synthetic material like light bright through would impact A, the bugginess, and B, how easy it is to dub, and it really doesn't. It maintains all of the properties it has. Yep. Wrong. That's just a question of building a thorax that you like the look of. Again, it's your fly. Make it bulky, make it not. It is entirely up to you. One thing you do need to do is complete your thorax, because that is obviously not enough dubbing. So I'll put a bit more on. Nice little bulbous thorax there. Now I want, and tighten that up a bit, I want at least 2 wraps in front of the shuttlecock to kick it up a bit. And I'm going to bring that up there, over the top. And then all that's left to do is whip finish. And I'm going to do that again in front of the shuttlecock. So pull everything back. 1, 2, 3. And instead of varnish or any resin, I just do another 1, 2, 3. Seat the knot well. Snip your thread. Sort your shuttlecock out a bit. There we go, lovely. And then all you need to do, take your dubbing brush, tease out some of those fibres up into the wing. And that's it. Find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, let me know how you get on tying it. If you need any hints or tips, just give me a shout, I'm happy to help. And let me know how you get on when you fish it. Hopefully I'll see you again next time. Thanks for tuning in. Until then, tight lines.